Roland, first of all, let me say once again, good morning. That said, our party had issued a statement congratulating the NPP for going through such primaries and coming out without the usual violence and all the associated problem. And we need to congratulate them for that. I monitored it because I wanted my candidate to win. And my candidate in the Npp primaries was Dr. Bawumia. I say my candidate because I obviously want a candidate that the NDC will not struggle to, as it were, to defeat again.
I don't understand.
Yes. I personally wanted a candidate. And so at all times, I was praying that Brian won't win. I was praying that Ken will not win. And in fact, all my modeling,
really?
I model it around Bawumia winning. And thankfully, he won. And that places us in a better advantage going into the 2028 election. Let me say this. You see, one great man once said, never interrupt your opponents when they are doing what will get them to their demise. Never, never interrupt them. And so for us, anything that the NPP were doing, we wanted everything to get to the point. Look, if you look at the whole poll, it was clear that Dr. Bawumia was going to win. There was no two ways about it. The very moment he succeeded in getting the top-bottom approach approved by the neck of the party, I knew that he was going to win. Why? The delegates who in November 2023 elected him, which eventually led to his monumental defeat, were the same delegates. Nothing changed. And as human, we always want to validate our decision. And so it was going to be difficult for the same set of delegates to do a 360 degrees in their reasoning. It would be, and you see, they want to confirm their previous decision. And so it was not strange at all. It was just a few of them who this time round decided that the Bawumia candidature was problematic for them. And for that matter, if you look at this particular election, a few of the delegates realized the risk in having Bawumia on the tickets. And for that matter, you will notice that he dropped from 62% in November 2023 to now 56.65%. That should tell you that as he progresses, becomes less popular in the NPP.
Really?
Yes, even among the same delegates. And that is even more dangerous. Look at the historical trend. There is no presidential candidate who has been repeated but had less percentage in its internal primaries. There's no presidential candidate. President Ajekum Kufuor, when he was repeated, he came out with a bigger and stronger support within the NPP. When Prosa Mills, 2000, 2004, 2008, he increased his numbers and popularity within the party. President John Dramani Mahama repeated the same thing. In fact, candidate Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo struggled to get 50% in 2007 against candidate Alan Tremantin. By the next time in 2012, when the NPP repeated him, he came with almost 85% from 47. And by the year 2014, he did not less than 92%. In the case of President Mahama, it has been an overwhelming support within the NDC.
So let me get this. You're saying that if you go the first time around and
yes,
there's a repetition of your candidacy,
you have always come out stronger.
It has to be overwhelming.
Overwhelming. In fact, it is only Dr. Bawumia who has been repeated as a candidate with lesser support within the NPP. And that should be concerning for any body within the MPP.
Why should it be Edudzi?
Because you see, like I've given you a historical trend, and the data analysis is there for all of us. Candidate Akufo-Addo, who went with him, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, started with 47, went to beyond 80, and went to 90 within the cycle that he was repeated. Now look at Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia. His first time, he did 62%. His second coming, 56%. A massive drop from 62 to 56, sorry. That is massive in terms of numbers. And look at something. Even the MPP delegates number reduced. If you compare to the number that voted.
You mean the turnout?
Yes. And the delegates that really did vote just this Saturday, if you compare to 2024, the number reduced. So you can see that even with a reducing delegates number, his popularity, dwindles with the MPP. And that should be concerning. And this is data. Look, there are some historical things that work against Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia's candidature. Look at the numbers. There is no presidential candidate who had gone into an election has lost and won only 77 constituencies. Check the historical record.
As a national candidate?
Yes, as a national candidate.
But if you're rejuvenated, you have seen...
Rejuvenated, even internally, 40-something% of your party members do not see you worthy to lead them.
But he's going to face a new candidate from the NDC
No. You see, like I always say, you win on your own merits. You don't go into an election seeking to win on the weakness of someone. What is your merit, even within, internally? Look, if you recall, in November 2023, the likes of Samuel Uku and co predicted that Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia was going to win the internal election by 75%, 80% among others. There was a reason why they were thinking that way. Because that shows you your hold on the party. Now, if you have 40+% of your own party members rejecting you at the polls, what will be your national performance? In fact, somebody did a calculation, and the person said, look, if 62% resulted in, is it 42 or 38%?
I think 38.0.
Very well.
The first announcement that was made by the EC is 30, but the official outcome, as put together and then made public by the Electoral Commission, is 41%.
Okay, so
which one do you want to say? Please stick to 41%.
So 41.
Let's not have these arguments. That's when Solomon had this argument there.
So we are saying that if 62% resulted in 41% in 2024, then 56% equals what? Find X.
Do that again.
So
algebra.
Yes, algebra. 62% resulted in 42% performance nationally.
41%.
41%.
Okay.
Now 56% will result to X. Find X.
Okay.
And others are projecting that may translate into 32%.
No, but it doesn't go.
No, but you see, I am giving you these scenarios to just let you know what is ahead of him. And that is, and let me say this. For me, I was a bit surprised with the performance of Brana Champon. Where I sit as an electionist, somebody who has some understanding of the elections in Ghana, I think he's the most formidable threat in the next 10 years. I don't know how you
was able... Champon.
Yes, Brian. I don't know how he was able to do this in Volta region. He upstaged Ken Ejipon and Dr. Bawumia in the Volta region. That's quite, revealing. And I want to understand the model that he used. Because in November 2023, if you recall, Kenejapon won Volta region against Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia.
In actual fact, according to their projection, Volta region would have been a win. Dr. Kukubuahin last time confirmed it.
Yes. And if you look at this time round,
and they have a Mamu and Co on the
Brian Achampon rather took a very formidable lead in the Volta region. These are very interesting numbers. Look, in the NDC, we deal with over 400,000 delegates.
Your delegates?
Yes.
NDC delegates, 400,000.
About 400,000. And so when you go into the election and you do
an MPP
90, 213 or 30,
212.
yes,
212
that did cast their, were supposed to have voted. Yeah, the register.
But it doesn't matter.
Less of that
is a constituent that.
No, but I'm just telling you that when an NDC candidate gets 90% of 400, it is much better in terms of his national, appeal than somebody getting 56% of 213. That's the point I'm trying to make. And it's important that you put this in perspective. Look, let me just say that I respect my opponents. And even in my practice as a law, I never underestimate my opponents in any matter that I deal with. So I respect Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia for he being the candidate of the NPP. We in the NDC are not going to be complacent. And we strongly believe that a simple antidote to the Bawumia candidature is a well-performing economy. Because, if you recall, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo framed Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia in the minds of Ghanaian voters. In his famous Sidino Aye Hata Hata, and for that matter, he needed a candidate called Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia with his economic prowess to help resolve the economic
challenges. He was doing well until COVID, Russia, Ukraine. Calm down.
Currently, there are global instabilities. So it is not just the case. And in fact, in the words of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, how come that the NDC government complain about global destiny when there is Ivory Coast? So it doesn't lie in his mouth to rely on global issues today. But most importantly, and I want to conclude on this, is the fact that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, as the chair of the economic management team, saw a situation where inflation went to 54%. And at the time when inflation got to 54%, only two countries were worse than Ghana, South Sudan and Zimbabwe. That is a poor. You may ask, by Edudzi, are you not exaggerating that this X number of persons became poor simply because inflation went to? My authority for this proposition is a publication by the Ghana Statistical Service. And let me reference it, where it says that the number of persons who had become poor by reason of inflation getting to that number. Let me see if I can pull the data for you. Yes.
How did you wrap up for me?
Yes, I'm wrapping up.
You seem to be Haimo, you're milking this.
Ghana
Please
Web.
end for me.
Ghana Web. 850,000 Ghanaians choked into poverty due to high government debt and high inflation, unquote. And so when Dr. Bawumia was the chair of the economic mismanagement team, 850,000 Ghanaians became poorer. In fact, poor. How is he going to explain that data today? How is he going to explain the lower inflation that we have today? What will be his alternative? What will be his alternative to the better management of the Ghana city today? It cannot be highfalutin. It cannot be voodoo economics. People want to see the reality in terms of the numbers.
Dr. Piadamko, at the end of the day,
Abusiafo NPP for ato Npp Primaries no awie na after say results no eba abonten no NDC for na omo eligibility but sisi ano de memeka e de say NDC for ehweye because there is something called complacency omo ahweye na say eseti in 2028 menua enye papa emfema NDC amanyuku no tie de organa memu ha ye hwe but see ano omo edubility because say Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia na anwene na omo hu Bawumia say we cool chop omo emre e wo campaign ho kra na omo anwene 2028 general elections no sa na NDC fo kan nipa ye hwe nu ye Edudzi Tamakloe ono oye NDC ni mapa yes enti wo kire say NDC fo Bawumia de we cool chop enti omo emre coming 2028 general elections no we are here in Ghana ye behwe de ebeko intiminua de eko eno no wo so adwenchele ene sen beselo unya subscribe ya no subscribe like video we na share ma unya bi no so unya bi enhwe me da wase nyankopon kan o me no wo ebehie bi sisi e de makro bye bye.